And action.
Hello, everybody. It's Trisha Lee, and I am here tonight with my business partner Larry, and we are continuing our conversation on disruptive technology. And today we're going to be discussing the struggle for survival. When you're dealing with a new innovation in technology, it's a constant evolution of product, and one of the biggest challenges is that there are other people out there in the marketplace that are always competing with new technologies to provide them more inexpensively and more efficiently. So if someone takes your product and improves it, making it more efficient or less expensive, well, then you lose in the marketplace. And uh, having been studying our market, which is in solar power, which is very much disruptive technology, and it's very much a growing area of the energy sector, and it's very exciting to be a part of that marketplace because it is experiencing explosive growth, especially in markets overseas. However, we have seen, based on our study, as well as attending two industry trade shows, specifically in the solar market, we have seen some changes, and we have seen firsthand the struggle for survival that new technology can often have. We were in Dallas, Texas in 2011 at Solar Power One, uh, North America's largest solar power trade show, and there uh, we seen and talked to some companies that had very interesting technology, and then a year, actually less than a year later, in 2012, we attended the world's largest solar trade show and industry event in Munich, Germany, Solar Power International, or Intersolar. And there we definitely saw some of the companies that were in Dallas were not in attendance in Germany. And we found out that many of them actually uh, faced bankruptcy, and their technology lost in the market space. And so Larry has been doing a lot of research and study on our competition and where we fit in with our disruptive technology in the marketplace. And so he has lots of information and a wealth of knowledge to share about the ever-changing and shifting marketplace for disruptive technology, specifically in the energy sector, and focusing in on solar power technology. So what kind of comments did you have to make about the information that you've come across while studying our future market with our new product?
I think it all pretty much starts with the reliance on fossil fuels and how the reliance on fossil fuels has been going on for probably over 100 years. And so it's really got a strong foothold in the infrastructure of the energy business. And it's pretty much been quite reliable. And so because burning of fossil fuels are a very powerful form of energy, for the size, if you look at, a generator, a gas run generator hooked up to your house and providing electricity, it's actually a pretty small unit compared to, for example, solar panels. Whereas if you have a house that's a certain size, you need, in order to produce enough electricity for your house, you need enough solar panels to cover your house 3 times over. So it takes up a lot of area. So I think that's probably a really big part of the transition phase that we're going through. And it's something that is definitely happening in the world. We're noticing the change from going to fossil fuel based technologies for providing energy to using more renewable energies. Now you gotta keep in mind that for electricity has been around for a long time, and it is a clean technology. There are some minor drawbacks as far as hydropower goes, because in a lot of cases they have to dam up rivers, which kind of changes the landscape just to produce power. But if you compare that to something like a coal burning plant that uses coal to create power and water to cool things, there's one in particular in the neighborhood we live in called Genesee, and they heat up a lake pretty much by using the coolness of the lake to cool down their equipment to make the electricity. I don't really have a lot of knowledge on how that whole technology works because it's not the business that I'm in. However, I do have some friends that have worked in the business, and they've told me a few things about how that type of power is produced. And so, yeah, it's going to be a struggle, and it's probably going to continue for a while. However, I think it's moving faster and faster. If you look at the statistics on how the change is taking place, the number of solar panels that have been installed, I think it's increasing about 50% every year, and I think that's been occurring since about 2007. So every year, the use of renewable energy is escalating. So if it's escalating, then we can only hope that the use of fossil fuels for providing power and coal for providing power is coming down. And I think that logistics, or if there's somebody keeping track, I'm sure that the information is available on the internet on how clean energy is starting to provide more power. I believe Germany is around 33% provided. They get 33% of their energy from solar panels, and so that's really good. And they've had a lot less trouble switching from one to the other because of feed-in tariffs. So the government actually provided a lot of solar panel companies good rates for their power. I'm not exactly sure again how feed-in tariffs really work because it's not really part of our business when we're bringing a new machine to market. Our market is it's going to be more individualized. So because we're bringing a machine that has a much smaller footprint than solar standard photovoltaics to the market, it's going to be a big draw for a lot of people, a lot of interest, just because you don't need as much room to power your home. So the way things have been going as of late, you've probably heard in the news that there's a lot of solar power plants that are opening up that are brand new. And some, I'd say the majority of them are based on photovoltaics.
Larry, you're kind of breaking up. And I just wanted to add, when we were in Germany, I noticed that almost 50% of the residents and businesses had solar panels on the roof. I was super impressed because here in the city that we live in, there are 2 places that have solar panels that I know of, and one is to run the light at a stop sign, and the other one is at the high school. And so in Germany, there was like an amazing amount of solar panels being used as compared to what I'm used to seeing here in Alberta, Canada. And also something I noticed in Germany was that all of the vehicles were much, much smaller than what we drive here. They didn't have any of these big SUVs and like Humvees and stuff that we have on the road here in Alberta, Canada. Even the transport trucks that were delivering goods to the stores and stuff that I saw, they were like these shrunken down cab over semi-trucks and trailers. And I thought, initially, I thought, oh, well, it must be because all the streets are so narrow that everybody drives these tiny little cars. And then I found out from someone talking to the people that live there that they were paying €2 a liter for gasoline, which is almost $5 a liter, or $4 a liter or something like that here in Canada. And here in Canada, we have over the last couple of years kind of been hovering around, well, in Alberta anyway, around $1 a liter, like maybe a few cents more or less than $1. I think it's actually 20 cents more at the moment. However, compared to what they're paying for in Europe, a lot of what drives the market is cost. So, you know, if here in Alberta, if suddenly our gas prices spiked to being like $4 a liter, you would find a lot of the people that are maybe lower middle class getting rid of their cars, looking for alternatives like buses and bicycles and stuff like that. However, because we are in a boom, an oil boom right now in Alberta, Canada, I think that we experience some of the cheapest prices for diesel and gas than anywhere else in the world. So because of that, I think is a big reason why it is so much more of a struggle here in Alberta, Canada, to bring about green energy like solar power and wind power. And we do have a little bit, but compared to other places in the world, Germany in particular, it's very, very immature market. So I wanted to just guide the conversation towards the companies that we've seen that were struggling to survive in this marketplace, and actually they lost the battle. I think it was very, very interesting. We ended up subscribed to a newsletter and an email list where we were getting all these updates talking to us about these companies that had to file for bankruptcy. And there were actually companies from all over the world. And it wasn't just North America that was being affected. And I think that where some companies, we talked about this a little bit before, but where some companies went wrong with their technology, we feel is in the expense and the complication of it, because their systems or their product was so complicated and so expensive. It just, the marketplace just rejected it. And so we had that, the experience of seeing these companies with their very complicated, very high-tech, very fancy, like very impressive to look at technology, because it was so expensive and so complicated, the marketplace rejected it. So what that taught us, as dealing with our disruptive technology, is that our focus and what we strive to achieve with it should be to ensure the simplicity as well as keep costs down as much as possible. And so that's been two of our main focuses with developing the product. And the motivation to focus in on, like at one time our focus was really on efficiency, but I think our focus shifted a little bit more to simplicity and expense.
think Trish got cut off there in the middle of what she was saying. But I can reiterate a little bit. Oh, here she comes. She's coming back on, I think. Are you there? Nope. Well, basically what I was going to say while she was saying that, as far as businesses that have gone belly up because of the change, well, just because of the expense of certain, oh, there she's back now. She disappeared.
Hello. I don't know if you could hear me before. I was talking about some of how the companies that we saw that ended up going bankrupt and losing their struggle for survival were from places all over the world. I didn't get into specifics because I don't really know specifics, but if you could make
Probably. Well, I think I'm here. Tricia seems to have disappeared again. Um, what I was going to add to the hangout was some of the businesses that are no longer around had a lot to do with the price of the components that they were selling. And I think what we learned while we were in Germany in 2012 was there was a shift taking place, and there was a lot of uh, Asian products that were starting to flood into the market, and a lot of the European companies got really upset by that. And there was some government moves that they tried to stop the flood of Chinese products, photovoltaics from coming into the market. But that's really difficult to do because when you have a customer, they're going to want to pay the lesser price. If you can get about the same amount of power, you're going to pay less. Hi, Trish. Welcome back. Did you want to continue?
No, go ahead. I was actually passing it over to you to talk about China and the specific companies that went bankrupt and how their technology was complicated and expensive.
Well, one of the ones that really comes to mind is this SCS. I don't know if you remember SCS, but when we were working with Stirling engines, the main going concern was a company called SCS, which was, I think, Stirling Energy Systems. And they were very actively producing a machine that used a solar concentrator, an array of mirrors that would reflect sunlight onto a Stirling engine. And they had spent a lot of their money and even more of the taxpayers' money of the United States, like a lot. I think it was something like $80 million um, developing this Stirling engine. So it worked really well. It did have some, I guess, minor flaws, but it was a working union. What I mean by marketing minor flaws is there's both there was a couple of different companies producing that type of machine. I think the other one is called Infinia or Infini. I think it was Infinia, and they were both producing the similar type of machine using a Stirling engine and a parabolic type of mirror array. And the Infinia unit, I think they were having problems that when the wind was blowing, they would produce less power. And it was a really easy fix that I kind of dreamt up, and I tried to contact them to let them know that I had a solution for that problem. It was really simple, but they never got back to me. So I'm not sure what's happening with that company. However, like I said, the SES company going bankrupt just blew my mind, because I was thinking, well, we're in the same business here. We're working on something similar, and the equipment that they were using is no longer available. And yeah, we've got the a notice about the auction, because I was seriously considering wanting to buy some of their Stirling engines. And I guess from what I saw, there wasn't a lot of Stirling engines. So to me, that would say that they're, I don't know how many products they actually produced, whether they produced 500 or 5,000 or 5. Was really difficult to tell, because at the auction there wasn't many of these units available. So that was one that kind of had a problem. The American Cylindra also had a problem. I think everybody quite remembers that one very well, because it, although funded heavily by the Department of Energy in the United States, received way more publicity than a lot of the other projects that were also being funded by the Department of Energy that are they're no more. And that just happens. It's part of business. And so I think it's really, what it's going to come down to is what we're seeing today with the recent announcement of Tesla Motors offering their patents up to anybody who wants to use them. That's pretty mind-blowing. If you can imagine Henry Ford saying, okay, I've built a few cars, now everybody go ahead, build your own car. I think everybody would have started building their cars, because they were pretty simple vehicles back then. So if all you'd have to do is assemble the parts, of course some parts would have to be custom made. But anyways, it's getting off topic a bit. With the Chinese products that are on the market now, they're relatively good products, and they're a lot less expensive than some of the European products and some of the North American products. So it goes along with pretty much everything in our global economy now. There's a lot of things that you can buy out of China, and we're in on that bag as well. You can buy things from China cheaper than if they're made domestically, and so we even use some Chinese parts and are having Chinese parts made for our equipment as well. It's just the smart thing to do. If you have survival instincts, you have to make these types of decisions. And although we hold patents with our company, I don't think it's our prime focus. You know, Elon Musk is a major influence on what we're doing, and has become that over the past, I think it was ever since I heard about the Tesla, or I think I saw a movie about who killed the electric car or something like that, and I think he was mentioned in that, and then I started looking more into electric vehicles, because that's another disruptive technology I'm very interested in. In fact, I bought a Scion in order to have it converted to an electric car. One of the first Scion XP models that came out, I purchased, because I want to get it converted to electric as well. So all this renewable energy technology outside of there's a few other ones like wind, solar, biomass, hydro. hydro's been around for a long, long time, and it's generally pretty clean. It is
I
expensive.
actually heard an argument about the hydro technology, and apparently there's a substantial amount of environmental damage that comes with hydroelectricity. Although it is clean in the way that it doesn't release emissions directly from the power generating, from what I understand is that when they create these floodplains by putting in these hydroelectric dams, um, basically what they create is a toxic soup. The water and floodplains caused by the dam, it ends up flooding out all these trees and grass areas and forest areas and stuff, and all of that organic material, it it rots because of the water, and all of that rotting biomass basically turns these bodies of water where the hydro electric turns into like toxic soup. And apparently there's emissions that are actually bubbling through the water into the atmosphere of like methane and some other nasty gases and toxic things that are created when vegetation rots. There's it definitely looks cleaner on the surface, but when you dig a little bit deeper into everything that goes into a big project like averting the flow of a river, yeah, it has some long-term effects that are potentially a lot worse than what the burning of fossil fuels creates in some people's views. I'm not too sure. I'm not that up on it. Our focus, I think, I don't need to be, because our focus is on clean energy, which I don't. I know some people would lump hydroelectric um, into clean power generation. However, from what I've learned, I disagree with that. And definitely, it's you would call it a disruptive technology because of what it does to nature. However, I think this hangout is more geared towards new technologies that are currently disrupting things. So hydroelectric doesn't really, it's not even really on my radar, really, because I don't know. I've also seen some stuff about certain rivers not reaching their drainage point at the ocean certain times of the year, and I'm pretty confident that these big hydroelectric dams play a role in that as well. I'm pretty sure where I heard about it was from uh, some kind of documentary or news item talking about these rivers not reaching their drainage points at the ocean, and I'm quite certain it was to do with the hydroelectric power generation in certain areas. Um, in Africa, they've set up some hydroelectric stuff, and I know that it's really disrupted some people's lives in a big way. They're very, very upset to lose their farms and to flooding because of hydroelectricity. And I'm sure that we didn't hear such an uproar in North America when their hydroelectricity went online, because I would imagine the farmers in North America were fairly compensated for their farmland that they lost due to the flooding. How in Africa, from what I was hearing, those people were probably not being fairly compensated, because they sure were raising a stink about not wanting their land to be flooded. And so if they were walking away with a fair compensation from that, I don't know if they would have been as upset as they were in this news item I saw. So anyway, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to interject my thoughts on hydroelectricity. What were you talking about, Larry? Looks like Larry is actually not with us. He's frozen down there. Oh, you gotta love this technology. I think that this Google Hangout platform is absolutely amazing. However, the reliability of our internet service is a bit of an issue from time to time. And tonight, it looks like both of us are experiencing similar issues. It seems like when my internet cuts out that Larry's is working, and then now his is cut out, and I seem to be on air and doing okay with everybody. So I'll just continue talking about the struggle for survival in the disruptive technology arena. Um, so basically, it really comes down to affordability and efficiency. That's simplicity also, I think, plays an equally important role because it's very hard to sell people things that they don't understand. But the thing of the matter is with most regular people, you don't have to understand the ins and outs of exactly how something works. All that really needs to be understood to make a purchasing decision is what the result is going to be. If I purchase this product, I'm going to save X% on my utility bill. Here's the proof. Here's a testimonial from somebody who saved money on their utility bill, and okay, now I'm ready to make a decision to purchase. So basically, what you're doing can be completely complicated. However, the result of what you're doing has to be simple and laid out for your customer in a way that they can easily understand that what the benefit is, so that they can make that purchasing decision. Because if you can have this thing ever and you can explain all the ins and outs of how it works and da-da-da-da, but if you are not clear to your consumer what the end benefit is for them, they're not going to spend their money. So I think it's very important, not so much that your disruptive technology is simple, but your marketing message behind that disruptive technology is simple enough that people can easily identify what the benefit is of them purchasing the product. And I think that things get really skewed and misrepresented in the marketplace when government interferes. Like these big solar companies that went bankrupt, they probably shouldn't have been in business in the first place because obviously they had something that the government would believe in, but the government can believe in what you're doing all day long. If people out there in the marketplace aren't willing to spend money on your product, it doesn't matter how much the government likes it. So the government can throw money at you all day long, but in the end, if you don't have sales to back up your business is dead. Like, the government can only prop you up so long before the marketplace cuts your throat and says, you know, sorry, but you don't have a product here that people want to buy, and that's the end of that. So basically, with our business, we're working really hard, and we're in a testing phase where we are hoping to come up with the numbers and that will prove what we're doing. And we also have partnered with another business person to part of our mastermind to be able to, and he's not on the internet, so you won't see him on these hangouts. He's tech adverted, or he has an aversion to technology, so I don't know that we'll ever have him participate on a hangout, but we do mastermind with him behind the scenes, and he is going to be testing our prototype in a real-world situation, and then we can get testimonials from him to provide to the marketplace to clearly and simply express the benefit, because this person we're masterminding with does not have any knowledge or understanding of how our equipment works. But once we set it up for him, we'll easily be able to see and understand what his savings are. So if he's saving money on his electric bill, he will be able to easily identify that. And if he's saving money on his heating costs, again, he can easily calculate what that savings equates to him in real dollars. And so once that occurs, then we will have our simple message displaying the benefit of our disruptive technology so that we can be competitive in the marketplace. So did you have any ideas or insight on what is important to disruptive technology companies that are startup companies that are struggling to survive? What do you think is important to keep in mind when you are bringing a new technology or product to the market? Larry? Or are you frozen again? You're blinking. Can you hear me?
Well, I think it's great if a company is lucky enough to get government funding. It's a really good thing to see the government supporting disruptive technology, even if the technology turns out to be unsuccessful. It's important that the government supports that sort of thing, because without it, it would be even harder to bring these disruptive technologies to market. Every government's a little bit different, so is to stick with the topic that we're talking about. I think the companies that do go bankrupt, there's a lot of different reasons they can go bankrupt. But what it really boils down to is basic economics. If you have a product that people want and you can sell it to them, you're gonna make money. You're gonna stay in business. So really good examples of that are some of the companies that produce solar panels for the home buyer or the do-it-yourselfer. You can actually go out and buy solar panels they're kind of pricey, but at least it gets your foot in the door as far as providing energy to your home. And I think that is really important. That I always thought that's where solar power and alternative energy should head in the future, is rather than having big companies control all the solar like the utilities do right now. There was a time when people made their own electricity on farms in Canada. They had these little glass batteries that would be charged up at, I think it was something like 32 volts, and they were charged up by a windmill. And but that wasn't really a lot of electricity. You couldn't like run your washer and dryer on that sort of energy. It just wasn't enough power output, but it was enough to give people light at night. And so today, with solar panels, the standard solar panels are very good at providing electricity. But we learned when we founded King Sunshine Solar Systems that solar panels weren't going to work for us because we needed so many to provide power for a house. And so that's why we came up with the invention that we came up with, because it will produce much more power than solar panels and not take up so much room and not be so expensive, which is really the bottom line for individuals that want to power their home using solar. And I think as long as we stay the course on that and people can afford solar panels to put on their house, I know it's difficult for a lot of people to do that, but just like I can imagine any kind of homeowner should be able to just add solar panels when they get a little extra money. It's making an investment in their future. So what if you do start with a few standard solar panels or any kind of solar-powered equipment? Start with what you can afford and start producing your own power that way. At least you're not going to be paying so much for your power bill. You'll be getting free electricity. And I think that's kind of where things went askew somewhere in the past few years, is that people started thinking, well, okay, I can pay my utility company X amount of dollars, and they're going to install a whole bunch of these shitty little solar panels on my house that are not going to be enough to provide electricity for my home, but at least I'm doing something. So that's kind of where the markets seems to be going. You have solar power plants, and then you have leasing companies that basically lease the solar panels that go onto the roof of your house. And this is generally being done by the utility companies that provide your electricity. Not all utility companies, but there are those that are a little more progressive than the others, and they understand that, yeah, solar and wind and renewable energy is the way the world's going to go. So they're on top of it in their marketing strategy. I'm hoping that when we bring our product to market, that people are going to be able to power their homes with our machine and not have all the power coming from a utility company. It just kind of makes sense to have it all on your own place, as long as it's safe and as long as people can use it. What the heck? It's really the way to go to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, so I wanted to point out one of the major benefits of being an oil and gas rich Alberta, Canada, is that the people around here, they actually love to pick apart our competition. So just to let you know, if you haven't had a chance, you can look at our technology at kingsss.ca. And we actually do not use any kind of solar panels. So what the argument against solar power that we hear here in Alberta has to do with the manufacturer, as well as the what's the word? Apparently in the manufacturing process of photovoltaics, they use some substances and processes that are not very good for the environment. I don't know that much about how solar panels are made, but it has been pointed out to me on several occasions that the footprint that is caused by the manufacturing process is, in the long run, you're not really saving anything using solar panel PV photovoltaic solar panels over burning oil and gas, because there's so many nasty heavy metals and chemicals that go into the process of creating solar photovoltaic solar panels that apparently people like to say they're not any better for the environment. I find myself inclined to disagree with that. I think that those people are probably against progress. They're just set in their ways, and they don't want to change. They're doing the best with what information they have. The other argument has to do with the fact that photovoltaics have a shelf life, if you will. On average, I guess after 20 years of service, the photovoltaic cells break down and they no longer work efficiently to generate the electricity that people require, and so they have to be upgraded. And so the other argument that I often hear from oil and gas type people here in Alberta is about no, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but the garbage process. So like once you dismantle your solar panels and you want to get rid of that material off your roof because it's not working anymore, there's no really good recycling process, and apparently within photovoltaics there is things like mercury and other toxic substances that wind up in the landfill and actually leach into our water supply and cause more pollution. I'm inclined to disagree that solar panels are worse for the environment than burning fossil fuels. However, I do enjoy that conversation because it supports what we're doing in the fact that the brake fluid that we use may be toxic, but we are able to recycle it once it's lived out its useful life for us, as well as most of the materials that have gone into our technology are actually recycled or repurposed or reused items from our other business, which is a recycling collection service. The Fresnel lenses that we use are actually off of recycled old-style big-screen projection TVs. The motors are recycled out of from automotive power window motors. We have old bed frame cut up and welded together for a support mechanism. And so we're not really dealing with any heavy metals or anything seriously dangerous to the environment. So I don't think safety is very much of an issue with what we're doing. And I'm a little bit ashamed to admit, but I was pretty much jumping up and down for joy when one of our biggest competitors in the concentrated solar power area, which is where our technology falls into, there's photovoltaic, there's solar concentrators, and I think there's another one Larry can tell us about after. But we're in the concentrated solar arena. And there's another company that's, or there's a power plant in Europe that's doing a very similar thing to what we're doing. But instead of using a Fresnel lens, they use curved mirrors that all focus the sun. So a focal is up on a tower. And I heard the news that bad news, really bad news, and like I said, I'm ashamed to admit that I jumped up and down when I heard this, but I heard that these mirrors that were shining up onto the tower actually fried birds that were flying by out of the sky. They had some endangered hawk or eagle that just dropped dead out of the sky because it came into the path of one of these mirrors that was beaming this like super powerful concentrated sunlight to the tower, as well as like a whole flock of some other kind of birds where they were just zapped out of the sky and fried by these heat rays coming off of these mirrors. And I think it's, other than Larry lighting his own pants on fire with our Fresnel lens, it seems to be pretty safe. We've been working with the Fresnel lens for like over 5 years without incident, other than some burn marks on our heat shield and the hole in Larry's pants. So yeah, definitely our focus is on survival, and a big important part of that is beating your competition out on some of these areas, like when it's sad, but the European government spent probably billions of dollars making this big solar power tower, and they may have to shut it down. If it's killing birds, Greenpeace and animal activists, people are not going to let them keep that thing going unless they can figure out some way. And like, how do you go about preventing birds from entering the airspace where you're doing something like that? I don't know. I feel kind of bad that I was happy I heard that, but because I do feel bad for the birds. If you know me, I'm a huge animal lover, and I hate to see any animal suffer for any reason. However, for our business aspect, that was kind of good news, because I knew that our technology was kind of was more competitive than theirs, because obviously, if you look at our website, kingsss.ca, it's obviously far less expensive to do what we're doing than what these towers are doing. But to add on top of that, hey, everybody, this is a cheaper way to do it, to also be able to add on the fact that we're not going to crispy fry any birds in the process of making electricity and heat for your home. That's pretty important to most of the people that are interested in this kind of stuff. So, and then what I was talking about before in regards to focusing on the positive, I think is very important for the survival of any business. When you just focus on what's good as much as you possibly can, good things come to you. It's just like a law of attraction 101. Like there's no avoiding it, that if you focus on problems, you get more problems. If you focus on solutions, you get more solutions. So probably if you look at the leadership of some of these companies that went bankrupt, I think you will find some problem-minded people that may have created problems where none existed, and that can kill a company really, really fast. So I think that the mindset of, there's a lot of really subtle and simple things that go into having any kind of successful anything, like whether it's a successful diet or a successful college experience or whatever it is. There's a lot of subtle things that go into accomplishing or achieving any goal. And I think that just having a positive aura around your business is so important. So the people that are in leadership positions of a company, if they are lacking that positive mental attitude, that can really, really, really kill a business. And I wouldn't be surprised if you talk to some of the CEOs or COOs or C3POs or, you know, these executives running the company. If you find a problem mindset, then that will, I think you'd likely find some people with problematic thought process that may have played a major role in killing some of these companies that we actually really would like to see them all succeed. Because I live in an abundant mindset where I think there's more than enough for everybody. And any business or company or technology that is trying to solve the problem of pollution that's brought about by fossil fuels, well, I'm on your side. It doesn't matter if you're in competition with me. It doesn't matter if you beat me to the punch. My mission is to have cleaner air and cleaner water for my children. And so if that doesn't come from my technology, if that comes from your disruptive technology because yours is cheaper and yours is more efficient, then so be it. I just want the goal to be met. It doesn't have to be met by me. Anybody who can fulfill the solution to that problem, I'm all for it. So did you have anything to add, Larry? Can you hear me?
No.
Can you see me or hear me? Did you have anything to add?
No.
No? All right. Well, I guess we can wrap it up then for tonight. It's just about been an hour that we've been talking about striving for survival with new technology, disruptive technology, and super excited to be using some really old technology to disrupt things. We're planning a Kickstarter campaign for some super, super old technology that will be very disruptive in our community and hopefully in your community too. So I think tomorrow that's going to be our topic. And I don't know, it might just be me and you again, Larry, which is fine. But tomorrow we will be talking about how important it is going to be to have some guests joining us in the future. And so we will continue the conversation about disruptive technology tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about some really, really old technology that we're going to be using with our recycling program. So I guess that's all. So go out there and make a great night, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and if I don't see you in the future, I will see you out pasture, because that's where I'm going to be, 6 a.m. Bye-bye. Bye, Larry.